Hi Adams, it's Miss K, and this is our last lesson of Unit 3, our poetry unit. Next lesson will be our assessment, and then we'll do our pausing point before we move on to Unit 4. So we're going to read a poem today that was from a very old book in the 12th century, and it's on poets and poetry. As you listen to me read, I want you to think about what the poet believes a poet's responsibilities are. So what does this person think that poets should be doing when they are writing poetry? And this is a crazy long name, so I'm going to try my best to pronounce it. So this is from a poem called Kavikanthabharana by a poet named Kashamendra. A poet should learn with his eyes the forms of leaves. He should know how to make people laugh when they are together. He should get to see what they are really like. He should know about oceans and mountains in themselves, and the sun and the moon and the stars. His mind should enter into the seasons. He should go among many people, in many places, and learn their languages. I'm going to read it one more time. Again, think about what the poet thinks poets should do. What is the responsibility of a poet? A poet should learn with his eyes the forms of leaves. He should know how to make people laugh when they are together. He should get to see what they are really like. He should know about oceans and mountain in themselves, and the sun and the moon and the stars. His mind should enter into the seasons. He should go among many people in many places and learn their languages. So number 1 asks, what is the main topic of this poem? What is the author's point of this poem? Number 2, we're going to focus on this quote right here. He should go among many people in many places and learn their languages. So what does that literally mean? What is the author literally telling the poet to do? And what could be a possible broader meaning? So that figurative meaning that we've been talking about. For example, when we were talking about those hyperboles and the metaphors and the similes, they weren't literal, they were figurative. They meant something a bit broader. So do you think this could mean anything else besides what it literally means? And then why is this an important thing for poets to do? So why should poets do this? Why is this important? Based on what you answered for questions 1 through 4, why does poetry matter? Why does this poet think poetry is important? Why are poets important? Now it's time to think about how you can use Kashamendra's ideas to your own life as a poet. Think about the poem while you answer the following questions. Number 6 asks you to list a way you could practice being a poet. So what do you think you could do in school, at home, to practice being a poet? You guys have written a lot of poems up to this point, so you should know what it takes to be a poet. How can you practice that? Number 7, list a way you could practice this as you grow older. So when you're in middle school, when you're in high school, when you're in college, when you have a job, how could you continue practicing being a poet? And then I want you to list at least 3 different kinds of poems that you could write about the ideas above. So 3 different types of poems, 3 different themed poems that you could write from the information you shared. All right, let's go on to skills. So now it's your turn to write an advice poem. In this poem, you will describe what a reader of poetry should do. So we just learned what poets should do. You're going to write a poem about what readers should do. So number 1, list at least 3 things you try to notice when you read a poem for the first time. What do you look for when you're reading a poem for the first time? What is the most important thing you've learned about reading poetry? What helps you the most when you read a poem? What helps you understand what's happening? When you find a poem you really love, what do? And now you're going to use all of your answers in your brainstorm to write a poem giving advice to someone who has never read poetry. So you should be telling them what they need to do when they read a poem. So use all of your brainstorm ideas here and tell your reader at least 4 things they should do or they should know when they read poetry. All right, that's it. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye, Adams.